This kind of thesis, antithesis, synthesis program. We first look at the future of the societies, then the future of the internet, and in the afternoon they will put everything together. I try to be a little bit provocative in the beginning. I have been involved in the past 3 or 4 years in a number of exercises where we would predict the future, think about the future, provide recommendations, for example, in this reflection group on the future of Europe, about what will happen, etc. And still you can read from very, very smart and learned people statements like this one from the guru of management, Peter Drucker, who wrote, yes, we can be sure that the society in 2030 will be very different from that of today. It will be even different from what the best futurists are predicting, but it will not be dominated or even shaped by information society. This was written less than 10 years ago. And on the other hand, Bill Gates, who is famous for many things, amongst others, for saying that the internet changes everything. And my claim here, and maybe just to set the stage for the discussion, both are right. Both are right, and there are, in fact, biological, psychological, genetic reasons for the fact that both are right. There's an old wisdom about all these changes that says that we need to have the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to distinguish between the two. This is a couple of 100 years old saying, but today we are not very good at accepting that we cannot change something. We have this technological civilization, we have science, we are confident that we can do just about anything we want. And most of the talks in this session will be about what we can change, what will change, and what should change. But I would like to point in the next few minutes to the things that will not change and that should not change. In fact, it's more complicated like this. If you draw a table, you would find that there are things that can change and can't change, and there are things that should change and things that shouldn't change. Now, that saying was just concerned with the first column of things that can and things that can't. And the interesting are the two yellow areas, things that should change, but we can't change them. Do we just accept, as the wisdom says, or we do research, innovation, and push and push and push until we do it? And the wisdom is about when to do and how to decide between these two. And the other interesting thing that also Nelly Kroes and some of the keynote speakers were mentioning this morning, the things that we can do, yet we should not do. For example, we can destroy the planet. Should we do it? We can probably genetically modify a human being. And this is where ethics, values, etc. come into play. And the other two corners are the stuff that are more or less easy. The can and should are determined by the man and by society. And both the man and the society, you have, and most of the people here are computer scientists or somehow related to computers and in the internet. You have the hardware, you have the operating system, and you have the apps. And if you look at the hardware is determined by the genes. And, well, we can try to fix some diseases, but I'm not sure how much we will be fiddling with our genetic code. The really interesting part is the network operating system. So what is in the core, in the firmware of the operating system that makes us a society? And Haidt found out that there are 5 senses of right and wrong built basically into the genetic code of humans, developed over millions and hundreds of thousands of years. Some are common to many mammals. They're not even human things. Some would call these things ethics. And he says we have this feeling of dislike for the pain of others, for empathy. We have this feeling for fairness and reciprocity. We have this feeling for in-group loyalty. we have the respect for authority, and we have this sense of what is pure, clean, and what is not. And he says this is built in great part into our genetic code. And if you look at political disputes among, for example, liberals and conservatives, the liberals would focus on number 1 and number 2, and conservatives would focus on number 3, 4, and 5. And these things will not change much. This has been there for hundred thousands of years, and we can just build, we have to build and accept on top of that. And then you have the apps, the technology, innovation, habits, regulations, rules, institutions that this technology trickles down into. And there's a lot of study about what is happening in this area. So we can change the apps. We are not so very capable of changing the hardware or the operating system. One framework of how this change is coming to the app area was this ABCDE that I developed at the related to the work of the Felipe Gonzalez Reflection Group. So these are the big changes happening right now in society: automation and abundance, BRICS and globalization, climate change and energy, demography, everything. And these are global issues. And if these things are global, if the internet is pulling us together, as again some of the keynote speakers were saying this morning, then maybe some things will be changing also in the network operating system of the society, like deepening the sense of the single humanity. I'm working in a foresight study with the ISS, and this will be one of the, probably will be one of the findings. The world, due to its common problems and due to its communication means that everybody can talk to everyone, everyone can learn about everyone, will develop this deeper sense of commonality. And of course, the global consciousness will change. So to conclude, and to give the floor to the next speaker, there is only one past. I don't agree with the title of this session. There is an indefinite number of futures. We don't know which one will come true. But we have an excellent panel of speakers that will give us, each one of them, one of the possible futures, and let's hear what these can be. I'd like to introduce the first speaker.